If you fancy a sportier Skoda Enyaq iV and can't yet wait until next year's RS version, Skoda has you covered because this is the Enyaq Sportline. It is a sportier version and it will be available in 60, 80 and 80X variants. We're going to show you some of the features that make this Sportline model stand out from the normal Enyaq iV. Now, like the other Sportline models in the Skoda range, this does get a much more aggressive looking, performance-based body styling. You have black surrounds here that give the car a broader stance, and you also have a black surround on the grille. Now, speaking of grilles, this is what Skoda calls its crystal face design. Thankfully, it is an option, so if it's not your thing, don't worry about it. But if you prefer to be seen by everybody on the street, you're going to want to tick this option box. The other features include Sportline badging on the side, and you can have up to 21-inch wheels. These wheels are huge. I've got to say they look fantastic on the car though. Well worth having if you prioritize your looks over comfort. Now further down you also have body colored sills and contrasting black door mirrors. That contrasting color includes the window surrounds and carries through to the roof rails. The body kit also includes this more pronounced rear spoiler, and that includes side spoilers as well. You have black badging all across here, including the iV and the 80X model derivative here. And then further down, you have black inserts on the bottom, again to give that sporty look. On the interior, you get, again, a lot of Sportline features, including this flat bottom steering wheel. It's a 3-spoke design with this model. But you also get some really nice touches like this carbon fiber effect across this winged dashboard. Looks really, really smart, especially in contrast with this stitching and this kind of leather material as well. There's some gloss black materials through the center console, and then there's also these seats. These seats are fantastic. They look really, really nice. They're not overly hugging in a sports seat sense, so you're not going to be too uncomfortable over a longer journey, and the materials themselves are really high quality. In comparison to a Volkswagen ID.4, the Skoda blows it out of the water. There's no contest here. This is a really properly high quality product from Skoda. Very impressed with it. In the rear, there's no shortage of space either. I am 5'9" and this driver's seat is set up from my driving position, and I have loads of room back here and pretty good headspace too, so there's no complaints in that respect. The middle seat is a little bit on the firmer side, but an adult will still be able to sit there quite comfortably. That includes the fact that there's no chunky transmission tunnel in the middle of the car. The outer seats again replicate what we see in the front seats, so you get this really nice suede Alcantara like material, really high quality, nice bit of support there as well, so it should be comfortable for people on longer journeys. Before we get out on the road, please do remember to tell us what you think in the comments below, and please do hit that subscribe button. The Skoda Enyaq shares the same mechanical underpinnings as the Volkswagen ID.4, and in this Sportline model that means you can have it in a 60, 80 or a range topping 80X, and it's that car that we're driving here today. The biggest difference with the 80X is that it has that additional electric motor on the front axle. All Enyaqs are normally rear wheel drive, but the X denotes that this is the all-wheel drive version. So you get an extra motor up the front, and that bumps up the overall power output to 195 kilowatts as opposed to 150 kilowatts with the normal 80 rear-wheel drive version. What does that mean? Well, you do get a good extra dollop of acceleration when you ask for it, and when conditions get a little bit more challenging, you're not left with only a rear-wheel drive model, and having that extra motor on the front axle will give a little bit more confidence to some people as well. Now, this particular Sportline model runs on 21-inch wheels. They're the largest that Skoda has ever fitted to one of its cars, and surprisingly it doesn't come to the detriment of the ride quality. This is a car that still rides very, very well. Yes, you do feel the larger bumps, of course you do, but it actually does quite a good job of rounding them all off. At slower speeds, there's very little noise that comes into the cabin. there's only ever the faint distant whir of the electric motors, and in fact that's only a little bit more pronounced because you have an extra motor in the front. The ride quality is a little bit on the firm side, which is to be expected, but it's by no means a bone shaker, and it is quite comfortable over longer journeys, particularly with these Sportline seats. They have a nice balance between being firm, holding you in place, and not feeling like you're sitting on a board. There are 5 different drive modes that you can choose from as well: Eco, Normal, Comfort, Sport, and an individual setting that you can adjust to whichever way you want. So if you want to have a sportier drive but you want to keep the comfort feel of the steering, that's all doable via the controls. And with that big battery being in the floor of the car and dual motor setup, it means that when you do want to fling this Enyaq in through a few bends, it actually does it remarkably well. It does hide its weight, but you do need to be aware of just how much inertia this car has. That said, there's very little body roll when you go through the bends. The steering has a nice feel to it. It's not overly weighted. Even in the sport mode, it actually has just quite a natural feel to it. And thankfully, there's no silly noises pumped into the cabin either. Until the Enyaq RS arrives in 2022, this 80X version will be the most powerful, and it's also the sportiest looking in this Sportline trim. Now, having that extra power doesn't make a massive difference to the overall range. Skoda says that this car is still capable of upwards of 500 kilometers on a single charge, whereas a normal Enyaq 80 will do just over 520 kilometers. So there's not too much of a difference in terms of range impact by having that extra motor in the front. And if you do like having a bit of a sportier drive, having that extra grip and traction pulling you out of a corner via the front and pushing you from the rear axle will be a boon. Now, there's plenty of people that will say a mid-size electric SUV can't possibly be fun, but with this much power on top and that instantaneous shove of torque, not to mention having all-wheel drive, this thing really does power out of corners. And even as you brake harder, as it's also recuperating energy, it's putting energy back into the battery, and the steering, well, there's a really nice direct feel to it. It's, you know, you have to be aware of just how much mass you're moving and shuffling through a series of bends, but it holds onto the road incredibly well. There's no doubt in the line. Just pick a line and it sticks to it. And this is a car that you can actually have quite a lot of fun in. That said, it does remain quite an efficient car. I've been driving it today in a number of different scenarios, from motorway driving to city driving and out on country roads, and according to the trip computer at least, it has still been averaging just over 17.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which isn't too bad. But away from clipping apexes and chasing down braking zones, this is a car that dispatches everyday tasks with remarkable ease. It is super refined on the move. It's whisper quiet as you drive around at urban speeds, and you have that benefit of having an elevated driving position, which so many people like. You have really good size mirrors as well, so you can see everything around, and it does have a great camera system as well for when you do need to park, and it displays on this huge touchscreen display. Everything about this car Skoda has absolutely nailed. It is a car that I think is going to sell extremely well, and it is easily one of the most desirable and justifiably desirable electric SUVs you can buy right now. So that's our review of the Skoda Enyaq Sportline. It's quite an impressive bit of kit. We should probably really wait until Volkswagen brings its ID.4 GTX to compare it to this 80X model. But as it goes, this is a really attractive car. It should come in at a pretty good price point, and it has an interior that, well, Volkswagen really needs to pull up its socks. If you want to know more about this car, head over to our website, which is CompleteCar.ie. You'll find detailed reviews of this and all of its rivals. We'd also love to know what you think about the car, so get involved in the comments below and tell us what you think about this fantastic electric vehicle. In the meantime, do remember to hit like and please do subscribe to the channel. If you do already, thanks for watching.